Hello, everyone. Welcome to the NASPA Tournament of Champions presented by Scrabble GO. I am Morris Greenberg, an expert Scrabble player in North America, and I am joined by another expert Scrabble player, Josh Sokol. How are you doing today, Josh?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to this matchup.
Yeah, this will be a very good matchup between Eric Tran and Cecilia Lay. Eric is one of the top players in Canada. He is based in Canada, and he's the current national champion there. There's some other good things you should know about him. He is engaged to fellow Scrabble player Betsy Chai. They live in Calgary together. And you might see Betsy Chai appear on the stream. We were looking at his webcam for a bit before this, and she was occasionally making a pop-in. So watch out for her. He grew up playing all different sorts of board games, especially chess when he was younger. Nowadays, he's playing Scrabble and a lot of poker. And you'll see he's definitely a strategic guy. And you'll see that in the game, hopefully. And one other thing to know about him, he's the 7th highest winning percentage in North American Scrabble history. If you look at those stats at the bottom, 70.3% of games won is really hard to do. And that opponent average of 377 per game, really hard to do too. He's a really good player when he has a 30 to 40 point lead. It's really hard to claw back and get back to him. Josh, you've definitely played him a few times. What's your kind of scouting report?
Yeah, you're totally right about that, Morris. Eric is a fantastic player, very strategic. He uses every psychological tactic in the book. It's very intimidating when he needs to be. I've played him a number of times. He's had the better of me, I think. And yeah, I mean, he won the 2018 Canadian Scrabble Championship. I came in 3rd that year, and one of the reasons for that was because he beat me in a very important match.
So we can actually hear a bit from Eric before the tournament. We recorded some stuff with him, so let's actually turn to that now.
I'm Eric Tran from Calgary, Alberta. I've been playing Scrabble since 2008. I love playing all sorts of games, and one day I decided to show up to the Calgary Scrabble Club, and I just completely became addicted, and I loved it. And through the Scrabble Club, I discovered Tournament Scrabble, and that's completely changed my life.
And that's just our link at the bottom to scrabble.zone/info if you want to learn more information about NASPA, the North American Scrabble Players Association. That is the organization that's holding this tournament and does all of these tournaments we're going to talk about throughout this week. Our second player today is Cecilia Lay. Cecilia works in education to help low-income students enter and complete college. And in fact, she actually got started in Scrabble from meeting someone at her job. So, and even more connected to her now is John O'Loughlin. She's married to him. He's another top Scrabble player. We're actually going to be showing one of his programs tonight, Quackle, a Scrabble AI software that will help us evaluate plays on this stream. And they also have an awesome 3-year-old son who apparently is obsessed with Scrabble.
Yeah, they're probably the highest rated Scrabble couple in North America. They're amazingly cute. Their child is cute. Yeah.
And lastly, she has traveled to Malaysia, Australia, and England to compete at the World Scrabble Championship. Now, the World Scrabble Championship plays with the International Dictionary. Tonight and for the rest of this tournament, we're going to be playing with the North American Dictionary, but there's definitely a lot of representation of both in North America, and people who can play between both dictionaries. I just don't know how they do it. It seems so hard.
Amazing. It's amazing.
So, Josh, you've also played Cecilia. I know I played her a bit when I lived in Boston. She lived in Boston, and I thought she was always a really great strategist. What's your scouting report on her?
Yeah, you really put in the daggers in me. I think I also have a negative record against Cecilia. I've played her at the California Open tournament multiple times in San Francisco, where she had the better of me again. She's just a really strong player. Also, I find she's very unpredictable. You don't really know what's going on until it happens. And that's a really, really key strategy in top level play where everybody studies each other's games.
I couldn't agree more. And one other thing I want to point out on this stream, if you see in the lower right-hand corner, you might see a QR code. That is for Scrabble Go. If you don't have it on your phone, you can hit that code and you will be able to pop it up on your individual phone to be able to download it. So now that we got that promotional content out of the way, let's now hear from Cecilia.
Hi, my name is Cecilia Lee. I'm from San Francisco, California. I've been playing Scrabble for 17 years, and I got started when a coworker invited me to his Scrabble club. Unlike most players, my first time going to a competitive Scrabble club was also my first time playing Scrabble, and I need to ask the rules. But I won my first game, and I got hooked, and I've been playing ever since.
So we hope you enjoy this series. Again, this is going to be a best 3 out of 5 series. So we could end in 3 games if someone sweeps. We could play up to 2 more after that if it becomes a neck-and-neck match. It looks like Eric is ready to go now. So feel free to ask us questions in the chat. We'll try to be responsive. And let's have some good Scrabble.
Yeah, I see the chat's already really active. It's going to be an awesome game. I can really feel it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, NASPA Scrabble.
Yes, and one other thing while they are getting set up, so this tournament is not being played for their own personal money like a lot of in-person tournaments are. This is all being played for 2 charities, and so we'll talk about that more throughout this broadcast, but definitely check out both. We can throw links in the comment section. So Eric has his first rack of letters. He has D-E-I-I-L-N-O.
Yep.
Very close to bingo tiles. Josh, what do you look to do in this sort of situation?
Well, I look to do what Eric did. He arranged his tiles alphabetically because that's how the top players learn whether or not there's a 7-letter word in their rack. They just memorize hundreds and thousands of alphabetically placed tiles so that when they play in games in the future, they can immediately recognize that there is a 7-letter word and then find it. So he did that. It doesn't look like there's something there. So now he's probably thinking, what should I do? Should I play a couple tiles? Should I play a bit longer? Like, do I want to keep any of these nice tiles? There's a lot of options on this turn. I might play something like iodine or iodine.
And it looks like he's plopping down that I now, so you might play one of those 2. One thing that Josh mentioned was the 7-letter word. If you're new to Scrabble, the 7-letter word, or the bingo is another way you might hear it throughout this broadcast, is so key. If you use all 7 of your tiles, you get 50 extra points. And so a lot of the best players, like Eric and Cecilia, are going to be getting 2, 3, maybe more per game. And so it looks like Eric is at least highly considering
it. Yeah. It's
So
not an amazing play. That's the whole problem with this rack. Is just like you don't really have anything great here.
Yeah, and one other thing we're going to point out about Scrabble GO specifically, which is the phone app they're using, is you might have seen iodine lit up in green there. In real tournaments, we don't have some sort of checker to see if a word is valid or not. Since we're using this phone app, players can actually see in advance if a word is valid. If iodine wasn't a word, it would appear red, and he couldn't actually hit the submit button. It wouldn't allow him. But he decides on iodine, it's valid, he can play it, and he's going to move on from that sort of hard rack to deal with.
Yeah, and he took a bit over 2 minutes. You can see the clocks. I know that was mentioned in chat. You can see the clocks on the bottom right-hand corner of the webcams. 2 minutes for a 20-minute game is a bit much. You're looking to spend more, maybe around 1 minute per turn on average, maybe a bit more than that. 2 minutes is a bit much since most games last 11, 12 games apiece. 11 to 12 moves apiece. So yeah, we'll see Eric probably trying to speed up a little bit later to save himself time later on.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be something we need to monitor. And so for Cecilia, who doesn't have one of those key E's that you can put after iodine, like Eric had after he made the play, she's probably going to have to also settle for something that isn't great. But she can do one parallel play that looks among Quackle's top choices, and I definitely think this would be the route I would go of playing rump, making MI and PO as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if there was a little bit more simulation done, that play would pop to the top of the engine's recommendations. Rumpus is an obscure 6-letter word. It gets rid of your S. Not really looking to do that so early on. Early on, a lot of top players they're racing for that first 7-letter word, so you get that 50-point bonus. So let's see what Eric has. He has another nicely balanced rack. I'm not seeing anything immediately that he might have there, but he's going to be able to at least do something.
Yeah, so it looks like he might play Revile or Relive or something. Oh, he takes it back, but the rump hook takes the front hook of T, which I'm guessing most people have that in their minds these days.
Yep.
So that he could go the trump route, but it looks like it's going to score more points this turn to play a 6-letter word starting at the triple word score, ending in an E to make R-E, Ray, the musical note. And so it looks like he's thinking about it at least. He's pondering. Let's see.
Yeah, interestingly, so you can see the top option scores 1 more point, 33 points. Eviler, that hooks iodine. Normally, when you're looking at plays, if you have a double word score versus a triple word score, you're normally gonna think to use the triple word score because it usually scores more points. But here it actually scores 1 more to hook the E onto iodine. So that's interesting. Let's see if he sees that. So he's trying a couple more things. He tried velite. That's not a word. I think it's good with an S, but velites is a word, but not velite. Luckily, it didn't let him play the phony word. But now he sees it. As I was saying, it actually scores 1 more point.
Yeah, and so one other thing. So we on our screen can see the remaining tiles via Quackle, the computer AI system that can evaluate Scrabble moves that a lot of experts use. Eric just popped out within Scrabble Go their tile bag, and so that's what the players have access to, and so you might see both tile bags throughout this. It just means the players are specifically looking at the tile bags.
All right, so yeah, he's played relive and iodine. Those are 2 common words. We might not see that many common words nearing the future, but oh wow, so quick. This is going to score a lot of points.
Yeah,
Superrise for 94 points. She was just waiting for that E or an L in a different spot for the obscure Brulzies. But Superrise, 94 points. She's going to take a really nice lead. She has a lot of time left compared to Eric. She's already up on the clock. So Eric's going to have to deal with that.
He'll have a response. He has tritone in multiple spots, it looks like, including this awesome one that makes 5 underlaps. So he doesn't even need the trump hook here. He can just use all those handy 2-letter words to get a lot of points.
But look at what's going to happen here with Cecilia. Look at this.
Yeah.
She has coward and crump.
Yeah, so, and even if she doesn't know crump for sure, well, first she could try it in this system, but also mid is an option. So, off of the
fireworks.
And crump.
This is definitely fireworks.
So it looks like she might not see crump. So she's playing coward without that hook, but it still is a bingo, and it will still give her a nice lead.
Yeah, I mean it's also pretty good for defending. She's already ahead. You might want to sacrifice a few points here and there to make the board a bit less nice for your opponent to come back with. But obviously in this case it was just a little miss of crump. And now let's see if Eric can respond. Looks like he might be able to.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of nice bingo tiles in a row, which is makes the game go by really quickly, because usually if you see a bingo, it's unlikely there's going to be a better option, especially if you don't have the blank. If you have the blank, there's sometimes ability to forego a bingo 1 turn and hope to score a lot this turn and then bingo the next turn, but most of the time when you don't have a blank, you're just going to take that bingo right away.
So let's look at this. Cecilia is ahead 188 to 123. So we keep saying the word bingo because that's what's been happening 3 in a row. And Eric's going to need to probably find another bingo at some point in the future if he's going to be able to come back into this game. But right now he doesn't have anything. It looked a bit promising, but we verified that there's nothing playable here. The only 8-letter words he could play are oracled with an I, and that just doesn't quite fit with the I in iodine, or Barleduc, which is a really cool word for what does it mean again? It's a type of jam. I think it's a French jam.
So given that he doesn't have those 8-letter words, let's try to think about what he does have. I see in the chat Alex Seaholm, our current champion, points out accrued as a possibility through the C in coward and putting the C on a triple letter score and the word also hitting a double word score. That scores a lot, but it's definitely a risky move.
Yeah, definitely. It might be his best play.
Yeah, I forget
really
the hooks to Suberize also. Does that take a D?
Yeah, so he could play just queued at an RE and Suberize. That might be a bit safer. And anyways, accrued is still a risky option. It might be a risk worth taking at this point. I don't think so, but we'll see if Eric spots the very healthy hook on Suberize. It'll get him 37 points, one more point than accrued even scores. But he's really taking a long time. I'm going to mention this a lot. He's really sometimes he plays really fast. Sometimes he really takes his time. It seems like psychologically, I would say that Cecilia is not only in the lead with points, but on the clock as well. So it's going to be a hard ride for Eric if he keeps getting difficult racks like these.
Yeah, and so the chat is pointing out a few other options. Kadi under RE is also an option people point out. I think that doesn't score quite as many points as Eric is looking at right now with the plays like accrued. So we'll see if that's the route he goes. But I think if he's putting down accrued and then taking it back, it looks like he's really wants to score like that 30-plus point play.
Right. Oh, look at this. Cecilia does not have something big with the spot that accrued opens with the A. Normally, I would say that the average play there is going to score over 40 points. But Cecilia has only 1 point tiles. And you're going to be looking for 8-letter words, 7-letter words sometimes with this sort of rack, and you're going to be looking for a long time. So maybe we'll see if Cecilia takes her time. It appears like she's writing down the rack, which is if you're a more visual player, that might really help with you trying to find words with your tiles. Unfortunately, she's, as we can see with the options, there's nothing she can do, and it might eat a lot of time for her, and that might give Eric the opportunity to take back this game.
Yeah, so we'll definitely see, but she's gonna spend a bit of time. It's good to always do your due diligence, make sure you aren't missing that key bingo that could swing the game for you. So if you notice, we were talking about Quackle earlier. Right now, Quackle automatically spits out plays based on a predetermined algorithm based on the points you score this turn and how valuable the letters are that you leave. We're going to maybe sometimes veer a bit away from it if we think the specific situation of just how the board looks and stuff might need to also be a consideration. So in this instance, for me, I know that even though plays like Odin and Talon score a bit more and keep a nice leave, I'm going to be pretty nervous about that spot Eric opened up, and I will probably block that ahead of plays for a few more points or a bit more equity often.
Yeah, well, those plays do block that spot, actually. They play through the A.
Oh, my bad. Yes, you're right.
But it's true what you're saying about some of the options being way too daredevilish for our tastes as human beings. As like in chess, the engines have revolutionized the game, but a lot of the options that they consider are not very human. So yeah, it's interesting. Someone suggested, Chris Schneider suggested Tonlet and TA. That gets rid of a lot of the nice tiles on the rack, but it scores pretty well. I would actually play something like Oten or Talon, but it looks like she's opting to play a few fewer tiles. I'm not sure if she's going to play that. She might be just considering it. The thing here, it's sort of with the iodine rack, is sort of the same thing that I'm seeing. You're not sure if you want to play only a few tiles or even exchange tiles. I mean, you don't want to exchange tiles here, but with the iodine play, it was interesting. A suggestion was exchanging tiles and just keeping a better leave. And leaves are almost as important as points in Scrabble. And so it looks like she's really trying to take an insurmountable lead by scoring another bingo very soon. That's why she's playing a lot.
Yeah, one thing that plays going up from the triple there did instead of through the triple like Odin is it makes it really hard to bingo on that part of the board at this point. The L especially doesn't take, well, actually, you can't even fit 7 contiguous letters before you hit a crude now. But if you made a play like Odin, you could actually get a bingo, an 8-letter word ending in O. And it seems unlikely, but if you're towards the end of the game and you realize you have to block something like here into or something, it's really annoying to deal with something like that. So.
Yeah, and you'll notice if you're a beginner player or even if you're an intermediate player, these experts, they really use the board geometry very, very well. They really know what space is being open, what space is being closed, what they really want to do. Eric, in his position, he wants to leave space open so he can possibly get a bingo down very soon. Cecilia is trying to close down some spots because she's ahead, but she's trying not to box herself in. So he's trying a couple things here. He had Zag down. He's trying pertaining to Gaza. That's unfortunately a proper noun. But I think he was thinking of the word Gazar. But Zag here looks to be a decent option. Once again, you might look at this rack and be like, oh, there must be something. But again, as we can see, Quackle is telling us there's nothing playable here. It's just so amazing that like these computers can just figure this out in an instant while we're just racking our brains for minutes on end. Yeah. Luckily, I was gonna say, thing about Scrabble sometimes is you're playing not only on your time, you're playing on your opponent's time. You're thinking on your opponent's time. And since Cecilia took a little bit of time in her last play, Eric had the chance to regroup and recollect his thoughts to try to see what he's going to do next.
Yeah, and so with him playing Zag now, was trying to gear up closer to a bingo. He drew 2 constants, so it looks like he'll need to spend another turn probably cleaning up his rack a bit before he can go that direction. But in the meantime, Cecilia is also getting closer to a bingo. Josh, are you going to be looking at that sort of U next to a crude with that M this turn maybe, or are you going to be looking at a different spot on the board?
Oh yeah, I think it's pretty. If there's no 8-letter word, like I'm seeing numerate with an R. If there's no 8-letter word, I'm definitely looking to try and score as many points as possible here and maintain my lead. But sometimes in these positions, you play something like lot and you're like, oh, I have such a great lead, I'm gonna bingo next turn, and then you don't. It sort of puts you into this like continuous cycle, this vicious cycle of just trying to bingo the next turn and the next turn, and sometimes you just have to give up, especially when you're in the lead. So we'll see what Cecilia does here. I like the plug by NASPA Scrabble in the chat. As we were saying, this is a charity tournament. All of the proceeds are going to all the prize money is going to 2 charities: Dolly Parton's Imagination Library and the NASPA Foundation for Youth Literacy. And yeah, just visit those websites, see what they do, and donate if you can.
Yeah, these are great charities, and we really appreciate the players taking their time for this tournament to help promote literacy in the U.S. and I guess actually North America. Yeah, we were really excited to see this sort of cooperation in that way. One other thing, so I mentioned the U as a possible place next to a crude for the M. That actually doesn't really have any triple options, unfortunately, this turn. So as the AI engine Quackle is suggesting, she might go above Suberize and Tritone, which she's putting down now, to make a play like Name. And a really interesting thing here, she chose something like Name over Mate, probably because Mutt takes an S in front of it, whereas Nut doesn't take any sort of front hook. No T-Nut or anything like that for crossword fans. So she's going to play Name, making a whole lot of overlaps as well, and score some points, but also not create extra bingo lanes. And with like a 50-plus point lead, that's probably a good call.
Absolutely. That's something you're going to see a lot here in this tournament. These top players, they're making very small adjustments to plays just so that they fit the ideas that they're trying to execute. So as we were saying, Mutt, if she played Mutt and Mate, Eric would be able to hook an S and play Smut and play a 7-letter word, whereas now, as we were talking about restriction, there's really not much to be done in terms of bingos in the top of the board anymore. So that's a very nice play by Cecilia.
Yeah, and one other thing to monitor as Eric is considering DAC is that Eric just made a short play playing off 2 letters after Zag. If I'm playing against Eric in that sort of situation, to me, that's going to signal Eric is trying to groom his rack right now and gear up for a bingo. And that's probably what Cecilia is thinking too right now.
Absolutely.
And so she's not going to give him that much opportunity to do that.
Yeah, he has to start getting worried. Things are getting closed. Even with his play of Doc, he's closing down parts of the board. But if I were Cecilia and I was ahead almost 60 points, I would be pretty sure that Eric's game plan is to get a bingo. So I'd be doing a lot of things to prevent that. So yeah, I think Eric knows that Doc is sort of not great play for the he's trying disc ball, does it look like? Yeah.
Disc ball? What a good phony try. Again, in this sort of setup with Scrabble GO, you can try phonies. There's no penalty in tournaments. Obviously, it comes at the risk of a turn. And so, what are you thinking here? Would you go with Doc, or would you maybe do something?
I actually like the first suggestion there, Sad for 40 points. Again, we're talking about the Supereyes hooks. Supereyes already by itself scores, 19 points? And so by hooking it, you're scoring a lot more points. Sad, just 3 tiles that are worth 4 points in a vacuum would score 40 points and would not block the same lanes that Eric is blocking. However, there's something to be said about playing Doc and not allowing Cecilia herself to utilize that spot. And as we can see, he actually did block some stuff for Cecilia.
Yeah, that cue she drew, that could have had some nice opportunities for her there. I guess one other thing to keep in mind is if Eric played Sad, he wouldn't be holding that S anymore for that GID play he created. So that's one other thing you always have to think about in these Scrabble games. What am I opening up by making a play? And do I have opportunity to cash in on that if my opponent can't immediately? So that might have been part of the reason why I considered Doc over Sad, but we'll see if that proves to be valuable or not in the next few turns.
Absolutely. And once again, if you're looking to improve rapidly at Scrabble, just visit scrabble.zone/info and you'll learn a lot of very useful skills. So let's see. Yeah, now that Cecilia's best plays were blocked, not really sure what the idea is here. There's probably something I'm missing, but QU words were blocked. That's what we were talking about. But it looks like she'll score decently with her Q anyway, and still maintain a nice lead.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Quackle's top suggestion here was just even keeping the QU because the Q and the U together actually can be really good. Separately, they're not that great, but together they're a match made in heaven. So it definitely is an interesting idea, but she's right now leaning towards playing off the Q. I think both are pretty reasonable here. It's just kind of often like a preference thing. I know I would probably prefer to keep the QU, but I understand playing and just getting rid of it now, moving on, and continuing to increase the lead.
Definitely. I'm personally guilty of keeping the QU way too often. Now, it looks like a really good combination, but it really depends on the board if there are many opportunities to score with it. Normally, in general, the QU is not even a positive combination to have. It's really just an average 2 letters. I know that might sound a bit weird, but when you get better at Scrabble, there are these really weird things that you learn, such as QU isn't actually that good. It's much better than Q without you. But yeah, I'm not sure about the idea of playing Yo and Day. I feel like that's one of those plays I was talking about that's not a human play to make because it opens that really huge opportunity on the triple on the bottom row. So let's see what he's...
That's true. So it looks like he found a bingo of syllabi.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I know I have missed that multiple times in tournaments, especially with a blank eye. That's a hard one to find. It's usually easier to see those sorts of words when you have all the letters, but you're not looking to pair a Y with those letters, I think, at first glance. So he found it and takes the lead, I think, for the first time this game, at least absolutely. After his opening turn.
And it's really a breath of fresh air, as he's struggling to find plays in the past few turns, and he still has some time left on his clock. But playing 7 letters, it really makes the next turn probably a little bit easier. As mentioned in the chat, syllabi takes a C for syllabic or syllabic, but neither C remains. So that's not actually a factor here, and especially since Cecilia is about to score like 60 points.
Yeah, a very hefty height.
Oh, is it actually exactly 60? Well,
yeah.
There you go. Wait, I have to count that. Is that really 60? Yeah. 60.
No, it was 60, I think. So Cecilia takes the lead right back. But this is definitely within striking distance for Eric, especially with hefty tiles like the F, the W, and the X. If you score 40 points, you have a slight lead after that. So he could even hold the X this turn. There's the juicy ERE that both an F and W can go before at J2 that he could be considering. Josh, what are you thinking about here?
Yeah, I'm not liking it. I mean, it seems like a good play here. I'm just not liking what's to come next because he's keeping 4 consonants, no vowels. I would like to see what remains. I can see the 24 unseen tiles. As you see that little, oh, it just disappeared. There, it's back. I would be worried about my vowels. The vowel to consonant ratio is something we talk about a lot. If you really want to keep a nice ratio on your rack after your play. It doesn't look like Eric can afford to do that here unless he plays weft. That suggestion weft through the E and coward for 20 points. But yeah, I'm not liking that either because it doesn't score much, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, and one other thing to track here is that there are 4 A's out, and after Cecilia played height, the A is going to be a really key vowel just because ABY is a word, and that's going to be probably the juiciest scoring spot on this board now. Maybe aside from the triple, Eric might open up here if he plays few. So the A's are going to be key towards the end of this game. That will definitely... And the other thing there is, if you only play a 3-letter word, making 3 other 3-letter words after AH, BY, and IT, you could be opening up an S lane onto the triple. So that spot is probably...
It's a big spot. And now he's actually creating a new one.
So we'll monitor the A's left. That will likely determine a lot of how the rest of this game unfolds.
Oh, this is really good for Cecilia here. Yeah, she can now play the word haven for a lot of points on top of few, and that's one of the other things I wasn't liking about that play. Just opening that triple word willy-nilly could get you in some trouble. This is going to score a lot of points. Height scored a lot of points. We're going to have to see some immense, fantastic comeback action from Eric, but I don't really believe it at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, one thing I would monitor here is the hooks. Since we're getting close to the end of the game, you could even consider, if the hooks aren't out, of just playing half there, because you have the N and the S. I think there is an S remaining still. Oh, and there's N's as well, so that isn't worth it this time. So scratch that. But
nice idea.
But hang or haven are definitely possible. Oh, it looks like she might be going gutsy and playing hag, with possibly going for that S lane that we just talked about. If she does that, that will be an awesome idea.
Wow.
I love this style of play. It's so cool. So she decided to go for a few fewer points to set up her S possibility. Man, she's so
basically
cool.
asking Eric, "What you got? What you got, man? Can you handle this?" And look at this. If you look at her rack, she's drawn invents, and that's just gonna end the game. Then and there.
Awesome.
And that's the benefit of a play like hag. It seems counterintuitive to open such a big spot with hags, but if you're able to, and we're saying this word, if you're able to use that spot next turn, there's almost no way for your opponent to come back since you're scoring so many points. And look at it. It's coming down, and that's going to be it for this game. I don't see
Yeah.
any way for Eric to come back after this.
What an interesting sequence of events. But like we said, that spot determined the game, essentially.
Like you said, you
I
can take
guess.
all the credit, Morris. I
Yeah.
have nothing to do with this. I would
For
play
that
Haven
one.
in a heartbeat. But hey,
Yes.
I'm not up here on the stage. And
Yeah,
she's just drawn another blank. The final
so
blank of
it'll
the
be
game.
tough for Eric to come back here. I think one
impossible.
other thing that she could have even been thinking there is, with so many A's out, she saw that was the most dangerous spot on the board, probably, given how likely it was Eric could have had an A at that point. So I think there was probably a lot of layered thinking she probably went through that we didn't even give enough credit to her for at the time. But
I give full credit. I give full
Yeah.
credit for her having thought of a lot more things than us. So
Yeah.
invents, and Eric is just like, he can't do anything. He's just like, okay, that's it. And the funny thing is, he played the word jingo. You might think that he's setting up another spot to play an S, but jingos is not a word. It takes the ES only. So there's not even that spot left for him. He does have some really nice scoring tiles, and there still is a few tiles left in the bag. I think I'm not.
If we could get the tiles remaining, that would be great. Actually, if we could flip to that screen.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
so
it looks like there's
left.
exactly 7. So Cecilia's got this locked up. But Eric can't really make enough of a counterplay here.
Well, that's actually the interesting thing. So if Eric did draw into a bingo after Jingo, I think he actually would have won the game, because he would have scored a decent amount of points and he would have gotten all the letters from Cecilia's rack. So that might have come down to that. But in this position, there's nothing to be done. He's just gonna. It looks like he's just gonna play pot C. Okay, that's a really good play, actually.
If only Yaks was a word, then then he could have set that up too. No, I know I'm getting too carried away with these setup ideas, but Eric, he's just gonna try to make a nice play without the X and then cash in on the X on his last turn. Seems like a pretty good end game.
Yeah, definitely. I think it might have been slightly better to play pot C, just because he gets AXE over the E in invents for 26 points, and that's kind of hard to block. But this is the end game, and I mean, sometimes it really does matter. This is a best of 5, though, so the differential between your scores is pretty much irrelevant unless there's a tie game.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so just to reiterate, normally in tournaments, margin of victory factors into tiebreaker sort of stuff. This is best of 5. It just straight up who wins. So spread, we could critique here and there, but in reality, Eric, probably his best strategy is just to not use too much brain power here. Save that for 4 more games.
Did I say bingo after jingo? I hope I did. That's a nice rhyme. Okay, so she's going to be playing Fakir, which is a really cool Q without U word. It's super, super useful. I've played it way more times than I can count. It's a Hindu ascetic. Wow, interesting. I have to actually look up ascetic. The one who practices abstinence or austerity. Okay, very interesting. So that's what a Fakir is. And
so Eric might even just plop down the X now. In the spot that Fakir created, both AX and XU are words, because I'm not sure Cecilia can go out next turn.
Again, but that's you're really, it's really not that important at this point. No,
but
okay, it looks like he's just gonna play. He's just gonna end the game here. But that was an amazing game. Cecilia was ahead most of the game, and then Syllabi came down, and it was a game again. But Cecilia just scored, and boom, invents to win. So congratulations to Cecilia. Commiserations to Eric.
Yeah, so Cecilia takes game 1. As a reminder, this is the best 3 out of 5 series. So Cecilia could end this in the next 2 games if she plays well and gets the right tiles. But we'll see very shortly. We're going to actually turn right around for this game. Just a few reminders. We've been posting in the chat to donate, if you can, to the 2 charities this event is sponsoring. That is the NASPA Foundation for Youth Literacy, and the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. The links give us so much good information about that if you're curious about learning more. Also, if you want to learn more about NASPA, the North American Scrabble Players Association, go to scrabble.zone/info to learn more. And then finally, the QR code that you see at the bottom of your screen right now, that is to download Scrabble GO, the app that the two players are playing. Please, if you haven't downloaded yet and you want to play Scrabble on your phone, this is the app to use.
Definitely. All right. So we're gonna start the next game. Is that it? We're just going again? Amazing. Okay. Heard from the producer.
So we just got word from our producer that Cecilia is going to start game 2 very soon. So stay on with us. After this one, we'll take a 5-minute break, but rounds 1 and 2 are just going to be back to back. So Cecilia has letters A, B, E, H, N, N, T in that alphabetical order that Josh pointed out earlier that many experts use. Step 1 of any play, arrange those letters in alphabetical order. Step 2, score some points, right?
Correct. And she can score a few points here. Be interesting to see what she chooses. She could play bathe, but that B-A-T-H-E, that keeps 2 N's, which isn't amazing. Yeah, we got the wrong rack in there, but it looks like Bannet is probably the option I would choose. Bannet for 22, just keeping the H, which is a versatile letter to keep. I think, would you play henna?
So I might even go short here. I might play nab even. I know that's not on the list there, but nab is definitely a play where EHNT has a lot of synergy, and it sets up an E hook. Nab takes nabe as back hook, and it doesn't allow your opponent to score much the next turn. So I might actually diverge a bit from where Quackle is suggesting plays and go short, but it looks like Cecilia is going to go long here, and I think it's really just a stylistic preference for those.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it looks like she's going to play bathe. It's not ideal because of the 2 N's, but it does score very well, and it doesn't give much back. Interestingly, we might see an extension, which is when you put letters on a play that's already on the board to make an even longer word. Can you guys see what I'm thinking of? The 3 letters going behind the B.
In front of the B, or?
Yeah. All right.
Sorry to miss you guys for a minute there, but it looks back.
I missed them.
So Eric has been instructed to go back. Whenever, if anything like this happens throughout the tournament, we're going to be very quick to tell players to just stop, and we'll stop their clocks, handle that all. We want to give you guys action in the moment, and we'll cater to you guys, our audience. So we aren't going to miss anything.
Oh, this is sorry. I know we're having technical problems, but I'm looking at Cecilia's rack. I'm just back in the action here. So I was saying how keeping the 2 N's is unideal. Can you guys see? She drew 2 more N's, which is just absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, and it looks
might have
like
to exchange tiles next turn.
And it looks like Eric is now considering those back hooks to bathe, which made it a bit risky of a play, like bathed, although he takes it back. These are definitely tiles that are close to a bingo and score a bit, so you can go a lot of different directions here to figure out how much you want to score, what sort of letters you want to keep. He decides to kind of unload the most hefty of those tiles to play crumb, keeping ADT. Josh, would that be the direction you'd try to go in, or would you go a different direction?
I like that play a lot. I was just looking up to see if crumb cake was a word, and unfortunately isn't. Yeah, crumb is a decent option. It's not committing to anything specific. He's just balancing the letters on his rack, and he's scoring pretty well. Cut is an interesting option, but the thing about cut and bathed is that it creates an S hook for scud that since the C is placed there and there are no 2-letter words with the C, makes it very hard for Eric to maybe block that spot if he continues to score more than Cecilia. It's just something to consider all the time, like just hooks on words.
Yeah, so Cecilia exchanged. Eric is now considering weighty. He could also play Adita and Crummy, but it looks like he goes for weighty. Both seem like pretty good plays there as options.
Yeah, I would play weighty to keep Sunbathed alive.
Fair enough.
Yeah, ADYTA, that's the plural of aditum, just a Latin-based word. We have all sorts of languages in our English language. But I think weighty is the proper option here.
Yeah. And so Cecilia has a lot of different bingo options here. She'll likely see the 7s. It's a pretty common rack. And it looks like the 8s don't score as much either. So she'll probably go the route.
Was just blocked, I'd like to mention. She could have played retainer.
That's true, as a double-double, yeah. And
just,
a double-double.
Just letting you know, Morris, your play would have been disastrous. Like retainer would have been a lot better.
Fair enough. Well, luckily, I'm not a Cecilia whisperer or an Eric whisperer, and they're making much better plays than me. So it looks like she has trainee down. She's considering maybe the board position of it and such before she submits. I think that, she takes it back. I mean, Josh, would you be considering any other bingos here for fewer points, or would you play trainee?
Well, what I would be is I would be looking for bingos. That's just my MO. But after a lot of looking, I think I would play trainee.
So maybe Cecilia's a lot of looking is condensed in like those 20 seconds that we saw her pick up trainee. But she plays the word, looks like a good play. And Eric is now close to a lot of bingos. If she maybe played one of those 8-letter words with an E out in a space, it would have been a bit more disastrous because he would have had sextains, but
yeah,
that's not an option here.
Yep. So now he has the X again. He just had it last game. We'll see if he'll be able to. Oh, he's looking for. So So I've seen him do this before. Since all the words are checked beforehand, you can just try certain words. You know that there's one word that isn't a word, like XS is what he tried. He just wants to see if there's actually a hook there. So he's just trying it out in Scrum. Unfortunately, it's not a word. He's trying again. He's trying taxes. This is the sort of thing that Eric does that for me, like the pride of being like live streamed and like playing these weird words would probably prevent me from playing a valid word because I'm worried it's not a real word. But Eric has no shame, and that's all for the better.
Yeah, as we said before, Eric is a strategist. He plays a lot of games, and he really tries to kind of milk the extra 1-2% chance that gives you a victory. He'll go for that, and it's a really admirable quality for a Scrabble player. And
I'm seeing in the chat, taxist was suggested, and people are saying it should be a word. It should be, as Chris Schneider says, someone who hates accountants. That's a very clever idea. Maybe it'll be in the next update. Who knows?
Yeah, interesting.
So he has the S in the end. Sorry, he has the S in the end for Sunbathe. So see if he notices that. And sometimes there's something called phishing in Scrabble that people do. It's just going for specific plays. Usually it's going for a bingo. He could potentially play off a lot of other tiles in the S in the end just for that nice chance at the 45-point play, but it's really not worth it. It's just a fun little tidbit.
Yeah, and so one play he put down briefly and then picked back up would actually block Sunbathe. It would be XIS and crumbs, possibly to set up Axis as a possibility, I think. The problem there is it's also really dangerous if your opponent has an A.
Yeah,
he can't really infer anything about Cecilia's rack, given that she picked up 7 new tiles there. So he might not be that much of a risk taker. He could maybe play something like... Yeah, he could maybe do another option like Ticks, or if he wants to be gutsy, Tax off of the T and Bathed. So
I kind of like Tax. I mean, there's already a lot of openings on this board, specifically the T and trainee. So most of the plays Cecilia is going to make will probably play through the T and trainee because that's just the human spot to play in with most racks. So because of that, playing Tax and setting up the I for Taxi and even the A for Taxa Might be a gambit worth taking here.
Yeah, well, he's considering doing the XIS spot, which is pretty cool, pretty gutsy. I mean,
Yeah, he
both
does it.
Cecilia tried
Amazing.
to address it, but you're right. There's now basically 2 triple word scores open, so he just made the board a lot more volatile. And when you're
And
down,
you can see Cecilia's
good
eyebrows
strategy.
raised, like, wow, that's gutsy. She can see she can see it as well.
Yeah, I mean, Cecilia has to be thinking Eric was holding an S there, most likely, just because Tix
An A
is around the same amount of points as XIS. So she has to be thinking Eric's holding an S.
Oh,
so
you think an S? Okay, yeah, definitely an S and probably an A. Not sure what use it is to her in this position to actually have this inference, this what we call a rack inference. But it's very important to look at your opponent's plays. I do a lot of that, probably too much of that in my games. But these players probably do just enough of that. So she probably is like, oh yeah, he probably has an A, probably has an S, but not much I can do except just keep on keeping on. And she just drew 2 A's, so Eric's gonna have to address that spot, I think, this turn.
Yeah, well, the one thing knowing both the A and the S does is the S is a good tile with the T hanging out with trainee, and the A would have been a good tile in front of XIS. So she might have just thought, I can't block both spots. It's pretty likely he could hit either. Just make my best play.
Ooh, okay. So it looks like Eric's just missed a really good play of Stannery through the R and trainee. That would have been a bingo. That would have been, I think, 63 points, was it? That would have propelled him right back into the game. Natty is really not that bad. It still keeps the A for access, but you're going to see that Cecilia is not going to let him fool her twice. And yeah, I think that was a big miss for Eric. It might be pivotal in this game.
Yeah, and so one thing to start noticing is the S is normally a really valuable tile. AE does not take an S, and I actually forget if knife takes an S. I am always bad with these F to VES words. Is knife's a word?
Yeah, it actually takes the D, the R, and the S.
It takes all of them. Okay, so maybe the S isn't quite as bad as I initially thought at first glance, but
I worry the other way. I'm always like, is knived a word? Kniving? But no, those are not words.
But the S might be less valuable than normal, especially because most bingos with S's them are not necessarily those, but a lot end in the S, and there isn't really any spot aside from the spot Cecilia just created with Homa for those kinds of words to happen.
Exactly, and oh my god, I'm looking at Cecilia's rack. If she's able to play Vivaria, I think that's a word, yeah. Vivaria and NA, that would be humongous. And we'll see if Eric's able to block that spot. I don't think he will.
Yeah, it's not an obvious spot. And he doesn't really have the tiles to do it either. So what do you do with Eric here? Do you use the knife took here and just make a play for a bit of points and keep like Ged, GED?
Yeah, in this position, I'd be taking a hard to think. I'd be making a play I think is a good play. Then Cecilia comes down with Vivaria, and I'm like, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? That's what I would be thinking. But yeah, I think what he's trying to do is keep scoring because he is down 60 points. He needs to keep scoring because even if he plays a bingo for 70, 80 points, it's Cecilia's turn. She's going to be able to score back, and she'll still be in the lead. So if he can't find bingo, which I don't think he has here, he's gonna have to score somehow. So GED and knifed seems okay. The board isn't super wide open. I mean, that big spot was both of the big spots on the board, the triple words were just taken. But in terms of space, once you play GED or GAD and knifed, there's not a ton of options for the rest of the game. There's still a lot of game to go, but that hook for knife is actually a very good spot to score, but also an even better spot to bingo.
Yeah, that's a good point. So he might even go below the F in knife, making something like Fed if he wants to keep that lane open. He'd get rid of the D as a hook for knife, but he could maybe go that option instead if he wants to keep the hook open and even open up another hook.
Yeah, and we see a suggestion of Fed. I'm not a fan of the G tile, but I probably would play Fed here because the G and the N is actually pretty good together. But normally the G, people are looking for ing words, and that's about it. Yeah, I think I would play Fed with the F and knife. See what he does though, and his time is starting to get a bit low. He still has over 10 minutes, but
yeah. So just a reminder that these clocks were set to 20 minutes. In tournaments, they're set to 25 minutes. So he's only used a bit. He's used about half his time with about half the game left. So he's kind of pacing himself perfectly if he wanted to use the same amount of time on every turn. The one thing to monitor is, and it looks like she's going to get Bavaria. The one thing to monitor is whether he needs more time towards the end of the game if the situation gets complex. So I often like to have a lot of time at the end of the game just because I know situations can get out of hand and I really need to think in those turns. But Eric might be able to pace himself better than me.
Yeah, and this is really bad for Eric. As I was saying, he's probably like lots of thoughts going through his head of like, is she just getting really lucky, or am I doing something wrong? And that, I think, if he ever looks back at this game, as us top players so often do, and he sees that he's missed Stannery, he's gonna know that he goofed.
He goofed, and so he is now considering opening up the bottom part of the board, which makes a lot of sense. If you notice, there hasn't been a single play made on any of the last 6 rows of the board, which means there's a lot of room to bingo there if you just make 1 or 2 plays to open up that side. It looks like he's first trying Stellane, but he might go back to playing Axel after.
Once again, like, there's so much on the line here. You got to be sure that those words that make sense, like Stellane could be a thing, you got to make sure that those aren't words before making your play. It looks like he's going to play Axel. I think that's a good option here.
Yeah, and it's really hard actually with Cecilia's tiles for her to kind of muck that area up that Eric just created. So it's going to not only be a good play in theory, but in practice this time, it's looking like it's a possibility. And I think Nettlers is a word, if I'm not mistaken, which could play even through the T next turn in Bathe. So he could start clawing back if Cecilia doesn't block that area.
There's still some time. There's definitely some time, but these players are just so good at maintaining leads, especially leads in the 3-digit numbers. It's just so hard to come back. It's
only 98 points right now, so it's not quite 3-digit.
Fair enough, Morris. Fair enough. Yeah, we see a suggestion, a 6-letter word on Cecilia's rack that doesn't play, unfortunately. But that would be a nice play if it did play. Looks like she's going to block Nettlers.
Yeah, so it looks like she is going the route of playing off for J now instead of playing the B like Quackle suggests. I'm a fan of this, especially given that she has the lead. Makes sense to block a lane, not create more lanes like Fob or Fub would do.
And interestingly, she chooses Jut over Jot. Now, normally, one of the rules of thumb in Scrabble is do not keep duplicate letters. We saw she kept NN with Bathed, and she had to exchange next turn because she drew 2 more N's and 2 E's. But the U is such a bad tile that oftentimes it's worth it to just get rid of it instead of getting rid of your duplicate O or your duplicate A. I think I might have still played Jot. One of the things to consider, these very small details that these top players are just amazing at considering all the times. One of the things is the Q is still unseen. And one of the ways for Cecilia to lose in this game, she has to be thinking about, she doesn't have to be, but she should be, is if she draws the Q and she doesn't have any spots for it, and she's gotten rid of her U, that might really slow her down.
Yeah, and so it's definitely, those are the sorts of things all the players will be thinking about in this. I guess actually Homo was the first O played, but there are a lot of O's out still though, so it definitely has its risks associated with it too. You can see in our tile pool on the right side of Eric that the O is the most frequent tile left in the bag right now. So she definitely runs some risk keeping both those O's.
Definitely. Looks like, I think this is a situation where the top play recommended by the engine is the best play here. I would say I would go out on a limb for Fen. Just creates a new spot to play a bingo. It scores decently, keeps really nice letters, but unfortunately, Eric only kept one vowel and drew 2 more consonants.
Yeah, it wasn't quite the right draw in the end after, but it's a really sound play and gives him options to put a T or an S down there, or a D if he draws one. So, yeah, but Cecilia still has her firm over 100-point lead now, Josh. I'll give that one to you.
Oh, is it? Oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah, so it's she is up 274 to 172 right now, holding a lot of hefty tiles. Now, often in this situation, I'm guessing Quackle will produce a result that we're going to disagree with because she could do something parallel to GED, but that's just not going to be good for the board for what she wants to do. It
was suggested in chat, and it's just like last game, the play of Hag, if you guys remember that. It's a very risky play, but it might work out for Cecilia. And if it does, it'll be a quick Scrabble death for Mr. Tran over here. But looks like she's opting for something a lot more conservative here. With Toph, it scores very well. It keeps scory tiles. It's kind of what she wants to do. As I was saying last game, the vowel and the consonant ratio is important. And if you're ahead by so much, I often look for plays that keep at least one vowel and at least one consonant so I don't get into trouble.
Yeah, I think it does everything she wants to do this turn. And Eric will have a tough time figuring out how to continue his objective of giving him options to claw back from an over 100-point lead while scoring enough to actually make that less than 150 points. So, right, it's a lot easier to come back from an 100-point lead than a 150-point lead. So he needs to score here and continue to make the board friendly for him in the future.
Mm-hmm. He might try something like man-bathed and NIT. We were talking about sunbathe. Unfortunately, man-bathed is not a word, which means woman.
I do not want to guess that definition. So,
but I don't know. I mean, it's Eric. He's been trying a lot of stuff. See what he does. I think he's in more serious mode at this point, though. He's just gonna play. I was gonna suggest something like that. It really sucks, but you just gotta keep on keeping on. Try again with the very similar leave to his last play. It looks like this time he drew into something.
Yeah, and he has a hook for Estrone, and Axel's could go down next turn. So we'll see if he gets that down. Yeah, and the reason why Josh is saying a play like that kind of sucks is it only scores 10 points. And when you're down by over 100 and don't make that within 100, it's kind of like, I just wish I scored a bit more to make it at least a bit closer game. But Eric might be able to get this bingo down, but he'll still probably need another really big play in order to eke out a win.
Yeah. So back to Cecilia here. She still has the play of bow or bow. We'll see if she does it this time and senses that now there might be enough momentum for her to make such an opening. But once again, she's opting for something a lot. I don't know if she's going to play that, but that's a very interesting idea. Just restricting as much as possible.
Wow, that would be such a cool play. So the reason why we like that play a lot is it doesn't open any lanes and it actually closes the when lane a lot. And so that's just a really advanced kind of board vision play where if your objective is to maintain the lead no matter what and make sure Eric can't score, a really good way to do that is don't give him anything and start closing those existing scoring spots down. So it looks like she's laying down web again. I think she probably was looking at that O situation in between, if I had to guess, and think about, is it really worth it to keep both O's still? She
Right.
goes for it. I love the play. And,
I love the idea. I might have played wheat, WEET, in the same spot to score a little bit more, but I really love the idea of just restriction and hoping that she can coast on her lead and continue to score enough to maintain her lead even after bingo. So as we can see, Eric still has some time on the clock. Cecilia has a lot more again. It's a trend last game. She also had a lot more time than Eric. And yeah, he's now only down 60 points, so it's still a game, but not if you look at his rack. I'm not sure he's going to be able to recover from that draw of 3 O's, 2 R's.
Yeah, the O's finally hit someone's rack. And so it'd be great if we could see the remaining tiles in the game. If we look, there are 27 tiles unseen. That means there are 7, and this is from the perspective of Cecilia right now. So that means there are 7 of those on Eric's rack and 20 in the bag. So we've played 80% of the game. There are 100 tiles to start with. And so it's this last 20%. We'll see if Eric can somehow find a miraculous way to come back from 60 points.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm seeing the funny thing about that is if Cecilia's played if you've played exactly 80% of the game, those math people out there would realize that Cecilia's final score might be exactly 400 points.
That's true. That's true.
I really like Chris Schneider's input. Good thing Eric pulled 3 O's. This is some Scrabble humor because as a result, I mean, Estrone, if it was placed somewhere else on the board, it has a really cool O hook for Oestrone. I mean, it's obviously just still pronounced Estrone, I think, but it's just funny because it's impossible. I guess I shouldn't have tried to explain that. It's just funny to me.
Yeah, well, so one word that Josh used there is hook. If you're new to this scene and hear us say the word hook, all that means is you can plop one letter and exactly one letter either in front of or at the end of a word. And so Estrone takes that O front hook and takes an S back hook, I think. I actually am not sure if it takes an S off the top of my head, but
yeah, it does. When I was a bit younger, people were explaining hooks to me. They're talking about front and back hooks. I had it all backwards because I was imagining for some reason the words as like train cars, and like the front of the train car to me is the E. So to me, a front hook would be the last E in Estrone, and a back hook would be the first E in it. But I mean, I was the only person that thought that. So quickly I was like, okay, fine. So he's trying voodoo, which is not a word.
Yeah, there are a lot of spellings of voodoo, but unfortunately, that is not one of them. One other thing we didn't talk about before, since there are still some S's out, is that Wadey does take an S as a back hook. It's not. It's not a word that looks like it takes an S, but it is one of those weird words ending in a Y that can take an S after. So
no, it doesn't.
It doesn't. Oh.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I was like super impressed.
I thought it did. I am sorry. I'm mixing up my S back hooks today. I thought knife might have not. Wadey did. I apologize for that. I don't know what word I'm thinking of, but
it's okay. You still won't have phonied as much as Eric.
That's true. That's true.
When we say phony, we mean play invalid words. So lots of Scrabble jargon to catch up with if you're new to the game. And once again, if you are new to the game, you're looking to improve, we have this link for you. I'm going to post it in chat. It's scrabble.zone/info. And be able to figure out what you want to do. I should probably actually make it a hyperlink. Sorry about that. That looks better.
So Eric exchanged there, which seemed pretty reasonable. It was hard to play down all those O's, and he does not get that rewarded as a result, unfortunately. So if Cecilia can continue extending her lead here, she'll be in great shape to lock up a second game in a row.
Absolutely. Yeah, what do we have left? Can I see what letters are left in the pool? Okay, great. So there's still some time for Eric, I would say. But it's quickly running out, I would say. This isn't obvious either for Cecilia. The best suggestion is only 13 points, and it's DUI and HI, the H in Homa on the left side of the board. I would probably just play that, honestly. There's doesn't look to be anything remarkably good here. The first thing I would look for in these top players, like I said, once you're ahead by such a nice margin, you're always looking to close down parts of the board, or at least places where, 7-letter words are playable. But there doesn't seem to be a very good way to do that. Yeah, the spots that remain are really not that great. The S hook on OE. OE is one of those really useful 2-letter words. It's a gust of wind, I think, off the Faroe Islands. And yeah, so that's, I think, the biggest threat here is if Eric is able to start a word with an S, or maybe even have it in the middle of the word and hook ON and NO. I think that's the biggest threat, but there's really not much left. There's that, and then there's the 7-letter lane on column J. If you can see the letters on top of the board there, the column going down from the J with the Y and weighty, that's the only other spot on the board at the moment.
So she's considering Dewey, or Dewey, I'm not actually sure these pronunciations. One other thing she could have even thought about there is if the OE spot is the most risky, she could have considered playing there, but it is really nice to have EIST also, so I think both options are perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, I like this decision. Yeah, and that's just like bliss when you see something you're worried about and then you draw the letter that you're worried about. It's just really nice. Okay, so he plays Gonia. I don't think that takes any hooks. Yep,
yeah, I do not know off the top of my head. I'm not going to guess hooks anymore after the weighty incident. So, so meanwhile, while you're Cecilia here, so now that she has both S's left, all of a sudden that second to last column, she might actually be more okay playing there just because she has the last 2 tiles that could pluralize a 3-letter word that starts with WE. So she might even go there now. She definitely has a bit of a cushion.
But there isn't really anything you can do there because wet takes an A, and WE takes all sorts of hooks. But that is a good idea. You're always looking to figure out what's left and to see if there's really anything. As we were talking about the OES threat, I mean, now it's completely gone because Eric played there. But you're always looking to see if there's anything you can do to set yourself up and that your opponent can't do anything about, even when you're so far ahead. It's very important. It's a very important tool when you're far behind, but it's also remarkably strong when you're ahead because your opponent is working on getting a 7-letter word. Your opponent doesn't want to have to deal with what you're doing. So actually, I might just play Sift here. For 33 points. Sift and Estrones. That scores a lot of points, and the only problem with that is it opens a big spot for Eric, but he would basically have to play 7 letters, empty the bag, and have an unblockable spot for the rest of his tiles. And emptying the bag is when you draw all the remaining tiles in the bag. And after the play of Sift, which scores 33 points at H12, we were talking about those coordinates, that's the only way Cecilia could lose. So he would have to immediately play a 7-letter or 8-letter word and then come back the next turn.
Yeah, I also realized if anyone can't see the small letters on the sides of the board, since we have been mentioning the coordinates, we have labeled basically kind of like a battleship grid. We have 15 letters in the columns and 15 numbers in the rows. So when we say something like H12, that's just in reference to the part of the board. We have yellow letters and numbers on the side to help you guide. We apologize if that's a bit small, though. And it looks like she's been trying things like GIFs or GIFs. That's one where no one agrees on the pronunciation.
Correct.
So I don't feel bad about
Say no more.
Say no more. But she sees, as Josh pointed out before, that Gonia doesn't take a hook, which is actually somewhat relieving to her. Probably she doesn't have to deal with that area in the same way. The other play aside from Sift, which Josh pointed out, that Quackle puts ahead of it on their engine, is a really sneaky play using one of those hooks, a front hook to Natty, Natty is Natty in front. So she could play GIF or GIF, depending on your pronunciation.
See, well, that's the thing. I mean, you're right back in it, Morris. Like this time you did see a valid hook.
Yeah. So
you're fine, man. You're good. But yeah, that's also an interesting play. So as I mentioned with the play of Sift, the only way for Cecilia to lose is if Eric bingoes twice, because she's ahead by so many points. But actually, if she played, so she's looking at Sift here, but if she played Fiesta to the A in Gonia, that would make it impossible for Eric to bingo twice, because she would be using 5 tiles, and that actually might be the winningest play from my end of things. I'm not entirely sure, but again, looking at what's remaining is a very important thing that these top players are excelling at, and they're always trying to figure out, how do I win this game and how do I lose this game if they're losing.
Yeah, and my guess is if Cecilia does play something like Sift, even though she just took it back, Eric might actually be risky here and play something off of the G in Ged, trying to open up a completely different side of the board and having Cecilia be forced to choose what to do at that point. So if she does go with something like Sift or Scythe here, which she now has lied down, it might be in Eric's best interest to just be gutsy and try opening up that top left or top right quadrant, while the bottom right quadrant is also open.
Definitely. I mean, I'm saying all these things that may or may not be true. So if anyone wants to correct my strategizing here, but look, it looks like it's basically...
This is going to be incredible. So he does make a play like that. Well, he does make a play like that, but Cecilia is holding all consonants. So she can't actually use that spot that well that Eric just created. And he picked up the Z too. Oh, man. We need to see the tile bag here. I wonder if he's close to any bingos here. That play.
I had to check Oralize. I'm just letting everybody know I had to check Oralize, but it's not a word. So her time is also really low. She spent a lot of time on the past few moves.
Oh, she picked up the key blank, though, so she might be able to get back what looked like an uncertain point for just a turn ago.
But so still, I mean, Eric might have chances. I might have spoken a bit soon.
Yeah, it'd be great to see what the tiles remaining are from Eric's perspective.
I think there are 3 letters left.
So if we can see the tiles remaining, yeah. So as Josh said, there are 3 letters left. It looks like the 3 letters are CEO. Cecilia is holding blank GLRSTU. So we know personally that if he can make any play with CEO, any play, he needs to make it so C, E, or O is a key tile he draws. Oh, it looks like he's trying Oralize.
See, okay, it's not that bad.
No. I'm always surprised that one isn't a word. But I don't know. Is like focalize a word, for instance?
Yeah.
I don't actually. So focalize might be an option for him off of the F in safe.
Oh, that would be superb to just play the R off. And hope for the C. That would be an incredible idea. It might or might not work out. But in this position, since we're not computers, there's just a lot of things to consider in such little time. And it's going to be interesting to see what Eric does here, because like we said, there are only 3 tiles left, and the plays that are being considered, like the top 2 plays that score the most points and seem to give him the best chance, are also plays that block parts of the board that Eric might need. And they empty the bag, which gives Cecilia complete information for what Eric has on his rack. And she'll be able to finish the game off.
Well, amazingly enough, so he must be looking for something else. He might be trying to set up his Z right now, which is a cool idea.
Ooh.
I
No,
wonder
I think
what
he's just going for a huge.
He has
bingo with his Z.
vocalized. He got it. He picked OC. So we will see if Cecilia blocks that play. I don't think she has a bingo here. If my quick search is right, but this could be a win for Eric if Cecilia doesn't block Focalize here. He left one tile in the bag, so if Cecilia makes a play here and doesn't block Focalize, he will go out next turn. This would be an incredible win. Cecilia doesn't have a lot of time. Oh, and she's not going to block. We'll see if that's enough points.
Well, okay. I mean, she hasn't played yet.
She has 4 seconds left, though. She plays it.
Okay.
With 2 seconds left on our clock.
I don't think it's 119 points. He's
Is
still
it
gonna
enough?
lose. No, he's still gonna lose.
But it will be a 10-point game. Within 10 points, I think, right?
Oh my god, look at him shrugging. He's like, well, I almost did it. Cecilia's smiling because she knows it's not enough. Oh my god. That's incredible.
What a game. So it was a 7-point win. So even though Cecilia was up by over 130 at points, even into the last turn of the game, Eric nearly came back, but Cecilia had enough of a cushion to give her a 7-point win, giving her a 2-0 lead. We are going to take a 5-minute break to give players time to recuperate, us time to recuperate. A few plugs before we head off. Remember, NASPA, the North American Scrabble Players Association, is hosting this event. If you want to learn more, go to scrabble.zone/info. If you want to start playing on Scrabble GO, the app that you're seeing both players playing with right now, use that QR code at the bottom of your screen right now, and you can get on your phone. And lastly, remember, the 2 charities we're playing for are the NASPA Foundation for Youth Literacy and the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. We'll throw links in the chat section to learn more about them. Please, please, please donate. They'll really appreciate it. It's for great causes. Josh, any final thoughts before we go to break?
Nothing to add. I'm definitely going to need time to recuperate. That was incredible.
Yeah. We will be back for Game 3 and possibly Games 4 and 5.
And I'm going to explain triple triples. A triple triple is a play that hits 2 triple word score squares at once, multiplying the total value of the tiles that you played by 9. Triple triples usually occur when there's a tile floating along the outside edge of the board, allowing you to play all 7 of your tiles to form an 8-letter bingo. Triple triples are always game changers, but can be especially useful for making a big comeback or cementing a huge lead.
This is Cooper, and I'm here to tell you about hooks. A hook is a letter that can be added onto the front or back of a word to form a new word. Hooks allow you to play multiple words at a time and score more points. So make sure you scan the board so that you don't miss any tricky hooks.
What's up,
Hello,
guys?
everyone. And Josh is doing some crazy hand signals. I'm going to keep my hands more to myself. But we've already seen 2 games right now. Cecilia Lay has taken a 2-0 lead, although Eric nearly clawed back. And one thing that Josh pointed out to me right when we cut to break is Cecilia had 2 seconds left on our clock. She won by only 7 points. So in Scrabble, we get a 10-point reduction every minute you go over. So it really came down to the wire there. Josh, what are you going to be looking for in this next game?
Well, it's crunch time for Eric Tran, and he's gonna need all of his fellow Calgary Flames fans behind him to mount this comeback. I know he's a big fan of that hockey team. So hopefully he has some friends that also support the team. I don't really know of any. I'm from Montreal. I mean, we just have a better team. Maybe not this year, but yeah, he's sorry, that was rambly. But he's gonna have to win 2 games in a row and then win a 3rd game in a row. But it's the 2 games in a row that are like the uphill battle for him. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, those are definitely good points. Although I will abstain from giving any hockey advice or hot takes. I'm going to stick to my baseball love for now. It seems like the players are ready as we're speaking, so we will turn to them. We'll try to look at your comments throughout, try to answer questions if you have any, so feel free to interact with the chat. Once again, we're NASPA, the North American Scrabble Players Association. We're playing on Scrabble GO. You can go to that QR code at the bottom of your screen to download it and donate to the 2 charities that we're helping out in this event. And with that, Eric has his first rack. He's picked up a lot of hefty tiles. EIJPSUW.
Seems like a quick decision I was about to say.
Jupes.
Just Jupes scores way more points than anything else. It's just the best play. So I find it interesting that both of these players open the game horizontally, sideways, because a little known fact is you can actually start the game vertically, and it actually throws your opponents off because they're just not used to it. So I suggest anybody. Sorry about that. I suggest to anybody that's trying to get better at Scrabble to open the game vertically.
So, yeah, what you were witnessing there on the screen, we were just talking with our producer. So Cecilia didn't actually hit the accept yet in the app, so that's why you're seeing that for a few seconds. But we now see a rack of ACEEIKT. She could play Jacket. Is the top recommended play on Quackle. And to me, that looks pretty good. It scores a lot of points, though. If she wanted to go more bingo prone, she might keep the T and play something like Pike instead, but I'm a fan of Jacket there.
Yeah, definitely worth the points here. And both players have used that J tile to score very well. Yeah, it's back to Eric. We'll see what he does with this. It's sort of an awkward rack. I can see one 6-letter word here in Godwit, but it's Godwit, but that doesn't play anywhere. But it looks like he's going to play pretty quickly.
Yeah, Bo here just seems to accomplish a lot of what he needs to do. He has a lot of clunky tiles together, so he gets rid of probably the 2 clunkiest of them and scores a good amount of points. So good objectives all the way around. Thumbs up over here.
Yeah, so it seems like a good play. I might have played the G instead of the B, but that's because I dislike the G. I think that's probably the right play.
Yeah, when you talk to a lot of higher ranked Scrabble players, they'll make those sort of comments like, I hate the G, or I know some people hate the Y. There are some specific tiles that, for whatever reason, have scarred us enough times. We're like, not again. I'm just going to get rid of you and move on. So
we see some really interesting suggestions already in chat since I got the ball rolling last time with the play of Bathe. People are just talking about all the extensions for the word jacket: blue jacket, yellow jacket. I think there's straight jacket. a lot of really cool ideas here that neither player has, I don't think. But yeah, back to Cecilia, who doesn't have the greatest of letters. She would like for that T to be one space further to the right, at least, so she could play Einstein or 90s. But she's going to have to settle for just, I think, K-I-N-E is a clear play here. It unduplicates the I, the N, and the E, because she has all three of those tiles already on her rack. And it just looks like the best balancing play.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. EINS is a very valuable leave. And so we've mentioned before, all of these plays in Quackle are predetermined based on an algorithm of combining points and the quality of the leave. There were higher scoring plays you might have seen there, but EINS is so valuable that it was the second highest raw valuation by the software.
So Eric didn't get any help. He kept DGIT in his rack. But he does find a very good option to get rid of most of his tiles and score decently if Turgid. Turgid.
Yeah, Turgid. I thought it was Turgid. I guess I don't know for sure. But
probably depends where you live in the world. But that's definitely the right play. Again, like all these plays seem virtually just correct and optimal, as we say sometimes. And they're playing them really quickly. Both players have a lot of time left. They're just trading blows here. Let's see what Cecilia comes up with. She has the X, which is really useful to score over 30 points easily. I can already see the word XI and XI above the last play that Eric made for a really nice score.
Yeah, would you prefer playing XI there or playing AX making AG?
I would play XI for two reasons. We're talking about letters that are disliked. I don't like the I as much as I like the A, and the XI creates a spot to play XIS, possibly. And since it's Eric's turn. Since Eric already has the S, it's slightly better, I would say, and it also doesn't create that word on the spot on the triple letter of the A and the G. But I think the play he's about to make is probably better than either of those options.
Yeah, you're talking about playing. Yeah, you're talking about playing the W, and we are sorry. We meant to say Cecilia there. What you're seeing on screen is exactly right. That was Cecilia who just played Wax. And so with that, Eric is dumping all of his eyes, it looks like right now, on the board with Bimini. I actually did not know that word at all.
That's a really cool word.
Yeah, but
I don't know whose turn it is, but I definitely know
that was just word. Eric's turn. But so now Cecilia, we're going back to Cecilia. What you guys are seeing on screen is exactly right. Is holding the blank.
Don't rub it in.
Yeah, I'm throwing shade constantly on Josh. That's just how we roll here. And so, does Bimini take an S, Josh? I actually don't know this.
Yes, it does. Bimini is a type of awning for a yacht.
Very cool.
I just knew that. I didn't just look it up.
So she could maybe do something there. She could also play something like Inspire and Jackets, but that would leave a dangerous triple open. So we will see what she comes up with.
Maybe RESILIN, but the problem with that is it doubles it triples the blank letter, which scores 0 points. Inspire doesn't do that. Inspire scores 4 more points, I think it is. We're seeing right there. So it's really a question of whether you think it's worth the 4-point sacrifice to make it a bit harder for Eric to play on the bottom triple there. If you play Inspire, puts an E there, you can put almost like tons of consonants under the E, whereas with Resilin, you can only put an A, an E, an O, or a U. So I like that decision by Cecilia, and she played it relatively quickly too.
Yeah, and these are the sorts of things that all of these top Scrabble players are thinking about. Is 4 points worth the sacrifice of what my opponent could do next turn? I often like to think in sort of a 3 turn out sequence. How many points does this turn score if I make this play? how many points can my opponent score by me making this play, and how good are the letters I'm keeping, where how can my scoring increase or decrease next turn. So I'm kind of looking 3 turns out on any play, and these players, I'm guessing, are adopting a similar, if not even more turns out sort of thought process.
Absolutely. Scrabble is a math game, a word game, a psychological game, but it's also an art game. And the art of controlling the board's geometry is something that would be amazing for anybody to master.
Yeah, and it looks like Eric, even though he's down, again, remember, he's down 2-0 here, so he needs to win this game. It looks like Cecilia was going to play where I was going to suggest he could have played Waxy, but Cecilia's going to make an awesome play here of Vague, it looks like. So he won't be able to play Waxy in the same way, possibly. But yeah, he picked up the blank too, so he might be able to respond back to Cecilia's blank bingo.
Yeah. And it's definitely an extremely strong play if you play Vague. You could also put the L there for value, but as mentioned previously, the G isn't a good tile except when it's with an N. So there's something to be said about playing value there, keeping the NG combination. But I like this decision. I think it's definitely the strongest play here. All right, this is happening really fast here. He's he's trying Vagues, I see.
Yeah. He's
doing that thing.
Doing his Eric thing, yeah. I feel like we need some sort of hashtag for like trying phonies or something.
No, we need a warning label. It's like
a warning label, yeah. Well,
I'm gonna try this. Just carry on. So he can't play Vagues, but he can play elsewhere, can't he?
Well, restyle is an option, making Vaguer. So that could definitely come down if Eric sees that. But he could also be thinking about here, he is down by 72 points. If there is a good enough scoring play with the Y, although I'm not seeing one right away, but it's sometimes worth it to hold on to that blank with good tiles because you're at least maybe 75% chance of hitting the bingo the next turn anyways. If you can score in the immediate turn for 30, 40 points and then bingo the next turn, that's often a better sequence than bingoing now and then not hitting that good point total. So we'll see if he opts for bingo or tries to just score a bunch. It looks like he's designated the blank as an R off of Vaguer, so we'll see if it's tersely or restyle here coming down.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to play restyle, and it's going to tie the game up. So we've got another awesome game on our hands.
So why do you think he's going to play restyle? What gives you that spidey sense?
Just the same spidey sense that gave you the idea that you might bingo 75% of the time if he doesn't bingo this turn.
Fair enough.
Predictive. Lots of Scrabble is predictive. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think the chances are? There's a lot of estimations going on at the highest levels. And
I guess what do you think is going through Eric's head when he's considering tersely versus restyle? What are the pros and cons there?
Well, points is one thing. Restyle scores 2 more points. And what does it do to the spots that are open on the board? If he plays tersely, not only can Cecilia play from the top right triple word score, she could also just play down from the middle right triple word score. Just gives her more options that score a ton of points. Here, she can score pretty well through the T in restyle and pretty well down from the last E in restyle if she hooks that with the 2-letter word and goes down. But I think the spots that restyle creates are slightly less of a threat than the spots that tersely creates.
Those are all really sound reasons, and that's why Josh is an expert and has come in third at Canadian Nationals, as he's already mentioned. He's thinking about all these sorts of things just like these players are doing. And it looks like Cecilia is going to take one of those 2 triples open. How is probably the top play here. At least I like that a lot. It kind of scores well, and it's a tie game right now, so kind of if you can just score and maintain the game, that's a really good strategy if you can't bingo. One other thing to notice here is we're basically only using this bottom diagonal half of the board. The top diagonal half has barely been used. And if Eric makes a play off of the E and restyle, we're going to pretty soon have to turn to that top half of the board. So we'll see how that area develops as Eric is also putting down some letters.
Yeah, he's just playing.
He's trying. He's trying another phony.
So the funny thing about that, I would say, is he might think that might be a word, because there's a word tovarish, which means just friend. It's like some Russian word. I would know. I'm of Slavic descent, but tovar ish is a word. So he might think that that's an adjective that means like pertaining to a tovar. That's the only reason I could think of him trying that. But let's not forget the hooks, or not the hooks, the extensions to jackets. We were talking about that earlier, and since it's such a close game, that might really change the game. It's going to score any extension that hits that double word score above jackets. It's going to score up to around 50 points.
Yeah, so it could definitely be a cool extension play if that happens. And so he opts to go, instead of the Slav route, like Josh's mentioning, we're both Jews, I guess, so he goes with Torot, the plural of Torah. So good Jewish word there, and scores a good amount to keep him within a 20-point game. And we'll see if Cecilia can sort of keep on extending this lead, or what she kind of does this turn. She sees Hoot, which is a really nice find. Oh, wow, Josh read the exact definition. He said it word for word before.
I didn't lie. If you guys saw that pop up, the definition of Bimini cricket. Sorry.
So she's going to play Hoot, which looks like a really strong play there, and continues building her lead. Eric needs to figure out ways to open the board. Oh, is over jacket a word? I don't know. Okay. Yeah, overcoat is a word, but not over jacket.
Yeah, it's worth a try in this format where you can only play valid words. That's the format they're playing in. Anything is nothing is out of the question. I mean, I guess players know their twos, they know their threes. These players are extremely good, and they know all of those words, but there's almost nobody that knows all of the words. So especially not an 11 or 10 letter word.
Yes.
Over jacket is definitely could be added to the dictionary sometime soon. We could popularize it, Morris, you and me.
We can do the over jackets movement. One other place on the board to keep your eye on is the R in Resolin. Now that basically the bottom half, diagonal half of the board has been used up, that is the one bingo lane available right now. So if Eric is thinking about how he can get back in the game, he might try to start opening up the top part of the board and keep letters that are conducive to potentially, I have no idea what Eric is doing right now, but he's trying to see front hooks to Vav possibly.
He's checking if groved is a word.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So, but he might want to try to keep letters conducive to bingos with an R in the 7th or 8th slot. That would be an 8-letter word. And he opens up the top half of the board now. He leaves good enough letters. Probably something like the E is going to be a key letter there to possibly bingo in that hard to block spot.
I don't know if anybody noticed that. He put the R down because he just checked if groved was a word. He obviously knew that diva wasn't a word. And he put the R down 3 spots above the E in Vagar. And to me, he's considering playing roved in that spot, which would set up his G for groved on the triple lane, which would be a very interesting idea.
Yeah, and can we maybe see the unseen tile pool to him? Because I see Cecilia has a P for proved, potentially. What other hooks there could Eric be noticing? I forget, is droved a word? I know drover is valid.
Yeah, so I think it's droved, groved, and proved.
Got it.
So this isn't necessarily going to work out for Eric, but when you're behind, you're always looking to make this sort of gambit play and try and pull ahead somehow. So I really like that idea. It's a very eye-opening. plan from Eric's end. But
yeah, and if you're Cecilia here, it's actually, if you play proved, you are actually leaving another R in 7th or 8th position open for bingo. So unless you play something like unpin,
would definitely be,
which opens up even more bingos.
Or
possibilities.
Lupin is better than unpin.
Yeah, that's a nice
definitely
idea.
The play. That's definitely the play.
So, and the reason why we're saying, the reason why we're saying Lupin is better than unpin is because unpin takes a lot of letters behind it, including the S, which is one of, if not the most common letter ending 7-letter words.
By far.
So, maybe, I forget if E is more common, but it's amongst the most common. So L only takes behind it an A, an O, and an I. And so Eric continues to open up here, or at least is considering it.
Yeah, this is...
Aft would give him daft.
This is really high-level stuff here.
So
Raft and daft. I mean,
yeah,
he just has to win this game, and he's just going all out. And the fact that he's seeing these things so quickly, it's just especially since we haven't been playing much Scrabble during the pandemic, only online. It's very amazing that these players are able to keep their incredible board vision.
Yeah, this is honestly, I think, like a masterclass performance by both sides these past few games in just board vision, board tactics, that sort of stuff. We saw Hag, for instance, in game 1 with Cecilia. We saw the focalized setup for Eric in game 2. And now we're seeing Eric just forcing Cecilia to close down one lane at a time while he continues to save some other stuff. So we'll see. It looks like he's opting back for aft and plays it now. Cecilia does have the R for raft, so she might be able to block it. But even if she plays something like Elmir, that will give him a nice lane as an option back.
Absolutely. So it's not over. I mean, we did see that Eric did draw another A, which is not what he's looking for, but there's still time. I do think Cecilia is definitely a favorite to win this game, and what an amazing performance it would be if she did. I'm not calling it yet, but yeah, she's been playing fantastic Scrabble, and she has a very nice rack here as well. I think she can just play Limner, Limner, and Raft, and that's a much better option than Elmir, as we were talking about. If the first letter of your word is a consonant rather than a vowel, it's much harder to hook that letter for your opponent to make a 2-letter word.
So she sees the word, and so the L's, they aren't so the C's and V's, those are going to be the best letters for these sorts of plays, just because they take no back hooks, or basically no 2-letter words starting with a C or V. L, even though it's a low point tile, it's one of the best low point tiles to start words with, because it doesn't take an E at the end, which is the most common vowel for 7-letter words to end. So
all right, so it's really coming down to it. Eric has a lot of time to think, though, and there's 3 letters left. And as we saw last game, he might look like he's out of it, but he just comes up with these incredible ways to try and sneak by a win. And this position, all he needs to do, it seems, is to play a bingo to win this game. It's just looking very difficult. He's going to either have to end in an A, making LA, or just get something very specific. And with the letters that he has, it's not looking amazing. However, as I was noting earlier, the Q is unseen to Eric, and that actually might be his ticket out of the game if he decides to try and block any Q spots that remain on the board. We're always, when we have the Q, we're always looking to play QI. As we know, there's no I left to play, and he might be thinking about. I mean, he's thinking about ace right now. It's a nice play to score, and he's actually playing it. I would have taken more time here, given that it's the championship round. But yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, so I think his logic there was he saw that the 2 Q spots available were off of the T in Torot for QAT and off of the U in Jukes for Qua, making AA as well. So his basic idea was, I think, that she needs to hold an A for her to play the Q, and either way she does that, I can't block both. So I'm just going to make a play that scores a bunch, and if she has to be slowed down by playing off the Q this turn, I could hopefully score enough such that I can come back, because 29 points is a good dent in a 70-point lead. He could have been thinking, she'll need to unload the Q. She either will not be able to play it because she has an A, or she's guaranteed to play it, or not be able to play it because she doesn't have an A, or be guaranteed to play it because she has the A. And I just need to net 70 more points. I can't worry about blocking.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, he did score as best he could. She is going to be slowed down by the Q, but it's really looking closer and closer to a victory here, a 3-0 victory, dominating performance by Cecilia here. He did draw the Z. He will be able to score some points with it, but she just has too much, I think, at this point.
Yeah, this is a really tricky endgame. So I'm not sure if Cecilia needs to play the Q right away, given that she has the 2 Q spots.
Definitely. Yeah, that's definitely something to consider.
So if she could play off the other 5 letters keeping QA, that would be one potential what we call out in 2 sequence. You might hear this from experts or other players in Scrabble. In Scrabble, an out in 2 sequence means whoever, once the bag is emptied, if you can go out in 2 turns and your opponent can't bingo or go out with their remaining tiles in between, then you end the game and you have an extra move advantage. So often a key way to winning close games, end games, is finding an out in 2 sequence that nets enough points. Cecilia has enough of a cushion here probably where that doesn't matter, but she might be looking for those right now.
Oh yeah, and that's the first thing you're looking for. Well, the first thing you want to do in an end game where you know what your opponent has is try to see what their plays are. And once you see what their plays are, you see how you can maybe interfere with those plays, or whether the plays you're seeing on your end are going to give them better plays. Now, if Cecilia were doing that, and I think she is, she laid down QUA there, and she saw that gave Eric a very nice score for Zeda, Zeda, and Aqua, hooking the A onto Qua, and she quickly took it off the board and put QAT down, which scores 2 fewer points, but is much worse for Eric. Doesn't give him such a great play, and that is the best endgame play. Our little engine has solved the endgame for us and tells us that by 2 points over YO for 30 points. That's that plays with the M in Limner, MYYO and NO. By 2 points, QAT is the better play.
And we're seeing in the chat now some brooms being put out for the sweep. Yeah, if Cecilia does pull this off, which is looking pretty likely, if she hits Cot, the engine agrees that it is a win. Cecilia will pull off a sweep in a really strong opening round. What else could she be thinking about here? Even
definitely not what was mentioned in the chat. Yellow jackets without a second L and without a W. But,
yes. Yeah. Well, actually, could you pluralize it in 2 ways? Right, like you know how compound words can have
yellows jackets.
Yes, yellows jackets. Could that be?
Definitely, that's definitely an option. And she has 4 minutes left. She's just doubly making sure that this is gonna lead to a win. And I think she's gonna go with it, and I think that's gonna be it. Eric doesn't look very excited as he looked when he had focalized last game.
Yeah, he does not look too pleased. Although I don't think she can go out this turn. Oh, is he trying I was going to say gray jackets, but no, grad jackets. Track jackets, okay. Yeah, gaze jackets, is that going to come next or something? Graze jackets, we'll see. Hey, you got to take every shot. And
that's
gear jackets. Ooh, I love the creativity.
Gear jackets is a decent idea.
Yeah, in the comments, if you have any dad jackets, I know that wouldn't hit the double word score, but I feel like that would be a good kind of jacket size for a dad bod or something. So is he going to try dead jackets now or something? I don't know. So
let's just let him have his fun. We don't have to give him the benefit of pronouncing every extension he tries. This is what I get for talking about extensions extensively. Red jackets is not a word. It's
so in only... the meantime... sorry. I was just going to say, in the meantime, I just figured if Eric's going to continue trying this for a few more minutes, we should do our plugs to be responsible here. Remember, we're playing for two charities here, the NASPA Foundation for Youth Literacy and the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Please donate if you can. Scopely, the company behind Scrabble GO, has generously donated a $10,000 prize pool for player donations to both these charities. So we really appreciate it, and they're great things to donate for if you have the space in your budget. Also, remember, QR code, bottom of the screen, that will allow you to get Scrabble GO. If you like playing Scrabble and want to play on your phone, Scrabble GO is the app these days. It is great. You can play in this sort of classic mode you're seeing here, or if you kind of like a video game style thing, you can play in its default mode where you can get power-ups and stuff and get points. Not just Scrabble points, but like points to your chest that you can collect all these rewards for. So definitely a cool app to check out. And lastly, we are playing under the North American Scrabble Players Association. If you want to learn more about the competitive Scrabble scene, go to scrabble.zone/info. Once again, scrabble.zone/info. We can post some of these links in the chat if you did not catch that. But definitely feel free to ask us questions about it throughout these next 6 days, and we will be happy to point you in the right direction.
And as Eric's time is dwindling a little bit, I would like to mention, as was mentioned in the chat, huge thanks to Will Anderson for putting this stream together. He's doing an incredible job. Who else should we thank?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I can thank you, Morris, I guess.
Well, I will say you're welcome then. But yeah, Will Anderson is a champion himself. So actually, since this event is produced by Will Anderson, not only is this a tournament of champions playing, but is a tournament brought to you by a champion. He won the 2017 National Scrabble Championship, or excuse me, North American Scrabble Championship. So not just US, all of North America. Will was the champion in 2017. And he kind of figured out how to move 2 phone apps onto computers, onto a live stream, all of that technical stuff. Him and Christian K also will give a shout out for that. They both did awesome work in kind of getting the product that you're seeing today. Also, Josh Greenway, who is the head of social media for the North American Scrabble Players Association, has helped produce some great interstitial content. If you saw in between the last game and this game, we had some really cool tutorials and stuff and videos. Josh also helped a lot with that, so thank you to him. And also thank you to Judy Cole, who's one of the very key people at NASPA. She is on the executive committee at NASPA, so one of the top-ranked people there. She's helped us out so much with kind of organizing this tournament, reaching out to Scopely, the company behind Scrabble GO. She did such a big part in that too. All these people put in such great work, and we're really happy you guys were able to join us for this. And lastly, thank you to the players also. I mean, they're showing great games right now. They let you into their lives for a bit, and you got to hear a bit about their story behind Scrabble and get to see them play now. So thank you to Eric and Cecilia and the other 6 players you're going to see in the next few days.
And it's not over. There's more. I mean, it's probably over for tonight, but this is only the first of many quarterfinal matchups. I mean, many. There's 4. Let's just be real. And I really look forward to watching some more matches. Maybe commentating some more matches. We'll see how those things shape up. But I mean, we're thanking everybody, which is normally done at the end of a tournament. I realize now, but there's a lot more to come in the next few days.
Yeah, and once again, if you have any questions about getting into tournament Scrabble, obviously right now we aren't able to do in-person tournaments. That's a big reason why we hosted this event, to be able to try to bring interesting content during this kind of new time. Go to scrabble.zone/info to learn more. We're happy to also answer any questions in the chat throughout.
Roger Coleman says, finish him already. Yep. Cecilia's taking it easy. I think she knows she's got this. And Eric
she
gets
that 50-point lead. And so Eric now is just going to kind of accept defeat, it looks like, and make a play quickly. Or try more phonies, because he's Eric.
If there's, I mean, I'm gonna miss. I obviously it's funny he's doing this. I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss. He's gonna get eliminated. I don't know if anybody else. And Will mentions behind the scenes, if he doesn't play Rejackets after all this, he'll be very upset. And it doesn't look like he's gonna. Well, he's gonna try Redug. Goodness gracious.
Yeah,
Goodness gracious, Eric, just accept defeat. If this was Cecilia and Cecilia was about to lose, I don't think she would be doing any of this. But hey, to each their own. He has 20 minutes to play. He can use the time as he likes. So it looks like he might be doing what Will wants.
He sees green.
Oh.
Is he going to play Rejackets?
Maybe, maybe not.
He's going to use every second of his clock here, I think. So we should also mention, I guess. So tomorrow we will be at the same place, same channel. Not the same pretty faces, though. We will have 2 new players. So we will see.
Oh, I thought you were talking about my face.
That's true. Josh also has a pretty face. And we will actually have Matt Canick, another expert commentator, with me tomorrow night. We might see Josh later in the week. We're going to want to try to give you guys a lot of different types of good players and hear their side of how they analyze the game this week. We think it's really valuable to be able to hear how different good players think about the game and try to do that in an accessible, digestible way for y'all. So we'll see Matt Canick with me on stream tomorrow, streaming Jason Keller and Lori Cohen. Oh, wait, no, excuse me, Lisa Odom. Sorry, I'm mixing up different matches. We have so many good players. So Jason Keller, he's been a champ on Jeopardy. He's been a great crossword player and also a great Scrabble player too. So it'll be really fun to see him. Lisa has been one of the top female players for the past 20 plus years in Scrabble and really knows sort of this tournament scene from even the 80s. So it'll be really cool to see her play and see Jason play too.
Absolutely.
So,
and really, congratulations to Cecilia for the sweep. Let's get some more brooms in chat. Incredible. I did not expect a 3-0. I mean, these are both really, really strong players, and I thought they would trade a little bit more than this. But hey, that's Scrabble. Sometimes you lose 3 in a row. Sometimes you win 3 in a row. I think Cecilia played incredibly well. Eric as well. He had a couple of chances, I think, in other games, but it looks really great here for Cecilia. She's going to get a nice momentum for her next matchup.
Yeah,
So congratulations to both players.
Yeah, so Cecilia advances to the next round. If it's possible, could we maybe show the bracket? I'm not sure if it's possible, just to kind of show you what the bracket looks like. We might not be able to quite fill in yet that Cecilia has advanced.
There you go. There it is.
But it would be good to see a bracket one final time.
Yeah, it's up, and we're gonna see her play the winner of tomorrow's matchup. And yeah, let's tune in. I don't know what else to say. This was really great performance by both players. Congratulations to Cecilia.
So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We hope you join us tomorrow. We're going to have great matches. Next 3 days are quarterfinals. You will see Cecilia again on Friday night as well. But for now, we're signing off. Have a great night, everyone.
See you all in chat.